When we think about global power, our minds immediately gravitate towards the symbols of military might: aircraft carriers, nuclear submarines, stealth bombers, and missile systems. We think about economic power: GDP, stock markets, multinational corporations, and financial institutions. We think about political power: diplomacy, international institutions, and the ability to influence global events. But there's a more fundamental, more hidden, and more decisive factor that determines which nations rise and which nations fall. A factor that has shaped the course of human history for centuries, and that will continue to shape the future of the world. That factor is ports. The ability to control the world's great ports is the ability to control the flow of goods, the flow of money, and the flow of power. The world's most powerful nations are also the world's largest port nations. The United States, China, Japan, Germany, Singapore, and the Netherlands all possess some of the world's largest and most advanced ports, and they have used this port power to build their economic and military might. The rise of China as a global power has been driven in large part by its investment in ports, from Shanghai to Shenzhen to Ningbo, and its ability to control the flow of goods in and out of the country. The fall of empires has been accompanied by the decline of their ports, as the ability to project power overseas has faded and the control of global trade has passed to new powers. The world has been told a simple story. That power is determined by military strength, economic size, and political influence. But this story is incomplete, misleading, and dangerously simplistic. The true source of power is the ability to control the flow of goods, the flow of trade, and the flow of wealth, and that control is exercised through the world's great ports. The nation that controls the ports controls the global supply chains, the global economy, and the global order. The nation that controls the ports is the nation that rules the world. To understand why ports decide global power, we must first travel back in time to an era when the world's great ports were the centers of global power, the hubs of trade and commerce that connected the continents and shaped the destiny of nations. The ancient world was a world of ports, of Mediterranean cities like Athens, Rome, and Alexandria, which were the centers of the ancient world's maritime trade, the hubs of the ancient world's naval power, and the seats of the ancient world's empires. The Phoenicians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Persians, and the Egyptians all built powerful empires that were based on their control of the sea and their control of the world's great ports. The medieval world was a world of ports, of Venice, Genoa, and Constantinople, which were the centers of the medieval world's maritime trade, the hubs of the medieval world's naval power, and the seats of the medieval world's empires. The Venetians and Genoese built wealthy and powerful empires that were based on a control of the Mediterranean and their control of the world's great ports. The Ottoman Empire built its power on its control of the ports of the Eastern Mediterranean and the Black Sea, and its ability to control the flow of trade between Europe and Asia. The modern world was built on the power of ports of London, Amsterdam, and Rotterdam, which were the centers of the modern world's maritime trade, the hubs of the modern world's naval power, and the seats of the modern world's empires. The British Empire built its global power on its control of the world's ports, from Gibraltar to Suez, from Singapore to Hong Kong, from Cape Town to Sydney, creating a global network that controlled the flow of goods, the flow of money, and the flow of power. The Dutch Empire built its global power on its control of the ports of the East Indies, and its ability to control the flow of spices, silk, and other valuable goods. The 20th century was the century of the ports, the era of the United States' global naval dominance, the era of the rise of Japan as a global economic power, and the era of the emergence of China as a global economic and military power. The ports of New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Long Beach were the gateways through which the American dream flowed, the ports through which the goods that built the American economy arrived, and the ports through which American power was projected across the globe. The ports of Tokyo, Yokohama, and Osaka were the gateways through which Japan built its economy, and the ports through which Japan projected its power across Asia. The hidden power of ports lies in their ability to control the flow of goods, the flow of money, and the flow of power. A port is not just a place where ships dock and containers are unloaded. It is a node in the global network, a point of connection between the land and the sea, a place where goods are transshipped, warehoused, and distributed, and a place where power is exercised. The first hidden layer is the control of global supply chains. The world's largest ports are the linchpins of the global supply chain, the places where the goods that make the world go round are moved from ship to shore, from shore to rail, and from rail to road. The ports are the engines of the global economy. the places where the flow of trade is controlled, and the places where the power to disrupt that flow is exercised. The ports are the levers of power, and the nation that controls the ports controls the supply chain. The second hidden layer is the control of global maritime trade. The world's largest ports are the hubs of global maritime trade, the places where the world's largest ships come to dock, where the world's most valuable cargo is unloaded, and where the world's most powerful shipping lines are based. The ports are the centers of maritime power, the places where the ability to move goods around the world is concentrated, and the places where the power to disrupt the movement of goods is exercised. The third hidden layer is the control of global naval power. The world's largest ports are also the bases of the world's most powerful navies, the places where warships are stationed, where naval power is projected, and where the ability to control the seas is exercised. The ports are the centers of naval power, the places where the ability to control the sea is concentrated, and the places where the power to project force across the globe is exercised. The fourth hidden layer is the control of global information. The world's largest ports are also the nodes of global information networks, the places where the data that flows around the world is concentrated, where the information that is essential to the global economy is processed, and where the power to control the flow of information is exercised. The ports are the centers of information power, the places where the ability to control the flow of information is concentrated, and the places where the power to shape global events is exercised. The hidden power of ports is immense, and it is growing. The world's largest ports are becoming the centers of global power, and their control is increasingly the key to global dominance. The power of ports is not confined to the local areas where they are located. The ripple effects of port power are felt across the globe, affecting global supply chains, global trade, and the global balance of power. The ports are the nodes in the global network, and their influence extends far beyond the waterfront. The first ripple is the impact on global supply chains. The ports are the linchpins of the global supply chain, and any disruption to the ports can have cascading effects that are felt around the world. The COVID-19 pandemic, the Suez Canal blockage, and the congestion at major ports have all demonstrated the vulnerability of the global supply chain to disruptions at the ports, and the power that the ports wield over the global economy. The second ripple is the impact on global trade. The ports are the gateways to global trade, and the control of the ports is the key to the control of global trade. The nations that control the ports have a significant advantage in global trade negotiations, as they can use their control of the ports to influence the terms of trade, to extract concessions from their trading partners, and to shape the rules of the global trading system. The third ripple is the impact on global power. The ports are the bases of global power, and the control of the ports is the key to control of global power. The nations that control the ports have a significant advantage in global power dynamics, as they can use their control of the ports to project power, to enforce their will, and to shape the global order. The fourth ripple is the impact on global information. The ports are the nodes of global information networks, and the control of the ports is the key to the control of global information. The nations that control the ports have a significant advantage in the control of global information, as they can use their control of the ports to monitor, to intercept, and to control the flow of information. The global ripple of port power is spreading, and the world is only beginning to understand the full implications. The power of ports is not immutable. The global landscape of port power is shifting, driven by technological change, economic transformation, and geopolitical competition. The nations that are investing in the ports of the future are the nations that will shape the future of global power. The first critical pivot is the rise of automation. The ports of the future will be automated, with robots and autonomous vehicles moving cargo, with artificial intelligence managing the flow of goods, and with machine learning optimizing operations. The automation of ports will reduce the need for human labor, but it will also increase the power of the ports, as the ability to control the flow of goods will be concentrated in the hands of the few. The second critical pivot is the rise of new economic powers. The rise of China, India, and other emerging economies is shifting the center of gravity of global trade from the Atlantic to the Pacific. The ports of the future will be in Asia, and the nations that control those ports will be the nations that shape the future of global power. The third critical pivot is the rise of environmental challenges. Climate change, sea level rise, and extreme weather events are threatening the ports of the world. And the nations that are investing in climate resilience are the nations that will be able to maintain their power in the face of environmental challenges. The fourth critical pivot is the rise of new technologies. The rise of 3D printing, blockchain, and the Internet of Things is transforming the nature of global supply chains, and the ports that are able to adapt to these new technologies will be the ports that will retain their power. The future of port power is a future of uncertainty, a future that is shaped by the choices that we make today. Two paths lie ahead, two completely different destinies. In the first path, the world invests in the ports of the future, automating them, making them more resilient, and adapting them to the challenges of climate change and new technologies. The ports become even more powerful, and the nations that control them become even more dominant. In the second path, the world fails to invest in the ports of the future, and the ports become obsolete, congested, and vulnerable to disruption. The power of the ports fades, and the nations that once ruled the world through their ports lose their influence. The question is not whether ports will continue to decide global power. The question is whether the nations that control the ports will adapt in time. The map never lies, but the people drawing it always have a reason. We just saw why ports decide global power. But there is one nation quietly building a port that will challenge the old order. That is the next journey. Which future do you believe? Comment Future 1 or Future 2. And subscribe to Atlas Beyond so you never miss the next journey.